Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a topic that's literally reshaping how modern security teams operate. We're talking about Python for cybersecurity. Now, let's set the record straight right off the bat, okay? Python is not some magical silver bullet that's going to instantly fix your security posture. Instead, you've got to think of it as the connective tissue. It's that vital bridge linking your entirely separate security operations so they can finally work together smoothly.
Okay, let's dive into this. To really grasp why Python is so absolutely crucial right now, we just have to look at the current threat landscape. If we pull the Verizon 2026 Data Breach Investigations report, a massive 31% of breaches now start with software vulnerabilities. I mean, this data paints a crystal clear picture. Passively sitting back, buying a bunch of tools, and just waiting for alerts, yeah, that's no longer a viable strategy. We have to be proactive.
And wow, the financial stakes for getting this wrong are just staggering. IBM's 2025 cost of a data breach report found the global average cost of a breach as at $4.4 million, when literally millions are on the line, relying on slow, manual investigations, where analysts are just painstakingly sifting through raw data by hand. That simply isn't an option anymore. Speed and accuracy are everything.
Which brings us to this powerful statement from our source material. Python is the definitive lingua franca for modern secure operations. It really is the common language. It empowers security teams to stop the reactive, chaotic scrambling and actually shift toward disciplined, data-driven security engineering.
So, here is our pragmatic guide for today's explainer. We're going to cover 1. The business case, 2. Core use cases, 3. Essential libraries, 4. Hands-on workflows, 5. Common mistakes, and finally, 6. Limitations.
Section 1. The business case. Connecting the stack.
For business leaders, the true value of Python isn't really the code itself. It's all about shorter response times and way fewer manual errors. In enterprise environments, security teams are dealing with a totally fragmented stack, right? Threat feeds, ticketing systems, SIM platforms. While Python steps in as a programmatic bridge for tools that were honestly never designed to speak to one another. It seamlessly pulls data from a cloud API and pushes it straight into your internal custom tools. It builds a unified defensive framework.
Section 2. Core cybersecurity use cases. The practical applications.
Let's shift from that macro business logic down to the nitty-gritty, the specific tasks your security teams are executing every single day. Python's versatility across different operational silos is just incredible. I mean, teams use it for penetration testing and web fuzzing, deep log analysis, extracting indicators of compromise from really noisy threat feeds, network traffic analysis, supporting malware triage, and conducting digital forensics. It is a true multi-tool.
Now, what's really interesting here is how Python transforms log analysis. Modern networks generate terabytes of daily log data, which basically just leads to massive alert fatigue. But Python steps in to help analysts find that needle in the haystack. It parses timestamps, strips out duplicates, and highlights sequences. It literally turns raw, noisy exports into structured, searchable evidence you can actually use.
Section 3. Essential Python libraries. Building your toolkit.
And this brilliantly illustrates a huge advantage of Python, its massive ecosystem. Your team doesn't have to build complex tools from scratch because the community has already done the heavy lifting for you. Think of it like a Swiss Army knife for totally different technical tasks. You've got the requests library for interacting with HTTP APIs to query your CMs. You have Scapy for crafting and analyzing raw network packets, and Pandas, an absolute powerhouse for processing and joining massive log exports to hunt down suspicious activity.
But I need to give you a very firm warning here when it comes to cryptography. Crypto is incredibly sensitive. You absolutely must rely on established, peer-reviewed libraries like HashLib or the cryptography package. Never, ever try to invent custom encryption algorithms or casually mix cryptographic primitives. Doing so is a surefire way to introduce massive, hidden vulnerabilities into your environment. Just don't do it.
Section 4. Hands-on security workflows. Turning data into action.
So how do we actually take those libraries and turn raw security data into actionable decisions? Well, here is a perfect example of an automated alert enrichment workflow. Step 1, the script receives an alert. Step 2, it enriches that alert by querying an API to find the asset owner and business criticality. Step 3, it checks the suspicious IP against external threat feeds. And Step 4, it creates a JIRA ticket with all that context and logs the action. This one simple workflow radically reduces analyst fatigue while ensuring complete consistency every single time an alert fires.
Let's move to and see how this builds into an incident response scenario. During a breach, isolated events just don't tell the full story. But Python can automatically construct a defensible timeline out of totally scattered logs. Minute 1, it collects endpoint alerts. Minute 2, it normalizes all those messy, disparate timestamps. Minute 3, it groups those events by host. And by minute 4, it outputs a clear, readable attack sequence for the responder. It's brilliant.
Section 5. Common mistakes to avoid. The reality check.
Okay, we need to have a reality check and discuss the severe risks that pop up when quick, temporary scripts suddenly become business-critical tools. So the crucial point is the stark contrast between risky, unvalidated scripts and mature engineering. Poor automation, that just multiplies mistakes at scale. It fails silently or worse, executes destructive defaults without warning. Good automation, though, is built with solid guardrails. It validates inputs before taking action, it handles API errors gracefully, and it includes necessary human review steps.
What are the specific pitfalls you absolutely must avoid? While writing scripts with zero error handling, ignoring secure coding practices like input validation, relying blindly on unverified third-party libraries from PyPy, automating destructive actions without validation, but most importantly, and I cannot stress this enough, hard-coded credentials. Embedding API keys or passwords directly into your scripts is one of the most common mistakes, and let me tell you, it is incredibly hard to fully remediate once they're exposed.
Section 6. When Python isn't enough. Knowing the limitations.
Look, as much as we love Python, we have to know exactly where its capabilities stop. Remember our connective tissue metaphor from earlier? Python links systems together beautifully, but it should never, ever be used to replace high-performance threat engines. It's not a substitute for an enterprise SIEM. It's not a real-time, low-latency response engine. And a Python script definitely does not equal a formal compliance tool. Smart teams use Python where it fits, and they integrate it with robust, faster tools where required.
And scaling this effectively often requires specialized help. As highlighted in our source text, solutions providers like SAM Solutions combine Python development expertise with strict cybersecurity discipline. Because when you're dealing with a large enterprise architecture, you need durable pipelines, high availability, and proper deployment governance, not just a random folder full of scattered scripts.
Python clearly has the power to dramatically reduce friction inside your security operations, but really only if it's treated with the discipline of true software engineering. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Will your next Python script be a well-tested, powerful operational asset, or is it going to become a hidden enterprise vulnerability? The choice is entirely in how you build it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.